Hi, everyone. Welcome to Drug School, and this is Adam, your instructor for these courses. It is my pleasure to have you join us today, and we're going to start a new series about what it takes to become a pharmacy technician. So, without further ado, let's get the show started. Hi, welcome back to Drug School. My name is Professor Adam, and it is my pleasure to have you join us again today. We're going to start a new series, and this one's going to be about becoming a pharmacy technician. And a lot of the questions that I get from students when I teach pharmacy technician programs for the two colleges I teach at is, what do I do once I get out of this program? And that really depends on what state you're in. So we're going to actually go state by state as we go through this series. And it is going to be a video series because one of the things you're going to find out as we go through the series is no two states are the same. So each state that we discuss as we go through this series is going to be about how you become a pharmacy technician in that state. So I'm going to tell you what each of these videos is going to provide you. So in this series, I'm going to talk to you about the process of becoming a pharmacy technician. For each state, we're going to define the scope of practice for a pharmacy technician for each state, and then we're going to define the continuing education requirements for those states because they do vary from one state to another. And this is why I bring this up. If you look at this map tells you what is going on regulatory wise for each state. Now, the states that are in that dark brownish color, but they have hash marks through them, have licensing laws. And then there are states that are just solidly brown. Those have some other licensing laws, but they also have a different set of requirements for their license that do not involve becoming a certified technician. And then there are those 5 states, I'll point them out on here in the next slide, that do not have any pharmacy technician regulation whatsoever. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 states that are in gray specifically. Those 5 states are going to be Hawaii, Wisconsin, Colorado, Pennsylvania, New York. There is one U.S. territory you can't see on this map that I'm also going to discuss, and that is the Virgin Islands. So the U.S. Virgin Islands is also one of these states. And essentially, there are no regulations in these states for pharmacy technicians, which means you can walk in off the street into a pharmacy, apply to be a pharmacy technician, and get a job as a pharmacy technician without any previous knowledge or education. All of your training will become employer based, and the requirements for your job will be essentially employer based. So, what can you do in those states? Well, your technician powers will be granted by your pharmacist. And in Michigan, not too terribly long ago, and I'm talking pre 2015, this video is published in 2019. That map that you just saw was from 2016. That map hasn't changed very much. So, in 2019, in those 5 states and the Virgin Islands, your powers to act as a pharmacy technician are granted by the pharmacist um, or the pharmacist in charge of your company. And I don't realize I just put in some redundant language there. It can be taking orders over the phone and transfers from other pharmacies for non-controlled substance prescriptions. Your powers could be compounding. They could be reconstitution of medication. They could be doing data entry. They could be filling and labeling prescriptions. They could be doing medical or medication reconciliation. So in those 5 states, really your pharmacist is going to control what you can and cannot do. The state has absolutely no power over you. Now, you do have to adhere to one pesky little federal regulation. This is a DEA regulation, and the DEA regulation states that pharmacy technicians cannot take phone orders or give or take transfers for controlled substances. That is prohibited in federal law. So it is not something that the state has any control over, nor does your pharmacist have any control over because the DEA has written that regulation. So because the DEA has a very stringent law about that, every state has to adhere to that. They can actually make it a little bit more restrictive. When we get into Alabama, we'll talk about that. But in general, across the entire country, you cannot, as a pharmacy technician, take a phone order or a transfer or give a transfer for a controlled substance in any state. As far as continuing education goes, there isn't any unless you are certified. If you are a certified pharmacy technician, which is completely optional unless it's employer required, you do not have to do any continuing education at all. However, if you are certified, you do have to do your 20 hours of continuing education, one in pharmacy law, one in patient safety. And if you are not familiar with any of those requirements, you'll want to go to ptcb.org or your other certifying agency and get their continuing education requirements. Well, that is it for this particular video of Drug School. As always, if you'd like to sponsor Drug School, patreon.com/drug school will get you into a place where you can help sponsor these videos and make them a reality. Thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you next time.